Hello everyone. Because I could not find an audiobook on YouTube, I am making one for myself on Timothy Findley's The Wars. Canadians. Skipping the introduction for now. My iPad can only record about 5 minutes at most, so making sure I don't over-encumber it. As the war is, the introduction is about 25 pages. No. Just about 5? Never mind. I hate having to translate Roman numerals. Starts at page 10 in Roman numerals. Don't want to bother doing the math on that. So, Prologue. She was standing in the middle of the railroad tracks. Her head was bowed and her right hoof was raised as if she rested. Her reins hung down to the ground and her saddle had slipped to one side. Behind her, a warehouse filled with medical supplies had just caught fire. Lying beside her there was a dog with its head between its paws and its ears erect and listening. 20 feet away, Robert sat on his haunches watching them. His pistol hung down from his fingers between his knees. He still wore his uniform with its torn lapels and burnt sleeves. In the firelight, his eyes were very bright. His lips were slightly parted. He could not breathe through his nose. It was broken. His face and the backs of his hands were streaked with clay and sweat. His hair hung down across his forehead. He was absolutely still. He had wandered now for over a week. Behind him, the railroad tracks stretched back towards the town. In front of him, it reached out through the fire towards the open countryside of the road to Magdalen Wood. On one of the sidings was a train. Its engineer and crew had either abandoned it or else they'd been killed. Could not be told. Robert appeared to be the sole survivor. He stood up. The engine hissed and rumbled. The train was about a dozen cars, no more. They appeared to be cattle cars. Robert walked to the horse. He had feared she might be lame, but as soon as he approached, she put her hoof back down on the cinders and raised her head. Robert petted her, slipping his arm around her neck and drawing the reins back over her ears. She greeted him with a snuffling noise and looked around to watch him as he adjusted her saddle and tightened her cinch. The dog, in the meantime, had got to his feet and was wagging his tail. It was as if both dog and horse had been waiting for Robert to come for them. The horse was a fine black mare, standing about 16 hands. She had been well cared for up till now, and someone had obviously ridden her every day. She was in superb condition. The dog, apparently, was used to her company, and she to his. They moved in tandem. The dog was also black. One of his ears fell forward in an odd way, giving the appearance of a jaunty cap. Robert did not know what sort of dog he was, but he was about the size of a Labrador retriever. Before mounting, Robert reached down and rubbed his hand across the dog's back. Then he said, "Let's go," and swung up into the saddle. The road down the track towards the road to Magdalen Wood, passing, as they went, the engine on the siding. When they got to the first of the cars, the horse stopped. She threw her head up and whinnied. Other horses answered from inside the car. "All right," Robert said. "Then we shall all go together." Half an hour later, the 12 cars stood quite empty, and Robert was riding along the tracks behind 130 horses with the dogs running beside him. They were on the road to Magdalen Wood by 1 a.m. This was when the moon rose. Red.